Greetings, friends. This is Steve Dupuie for the Bible News Prophecy Program with Dr. Bob Thiel. Dr. Thiel, with the war in Gaza continuing, can you give us some insight into the Palestinians and Hamas's ideology?
Saw something yesterday from Israel 365 News, and the headline was, Palestinian Authority said, on Saturday, we murder the Jews. On Sunday, we murder the Christians.
What? Wait a second. Could you repeat that?
On Saturday, we murder the Jews. On Sunday, we murder the Christians. And this was written on a Palestinian flag. And somebody by the name of Nadia Matar, who is a co-chair of an Israeli sovereignty movement, showed this flag, which has this stuff written in Arabic. And she said this was waved by the Palestinian Authority back in the 90s when certain so-called agreements were signed in Bethlehem. And says it's, so she read what it says in Arabic, and I'm not even going to try to do it. And then it was translated, on Saturdays we murder the Jews, and on Sundays we'll murder the Christians.
Wow.
And then what Matar said was, people have to understand that the war in Israel, according to her, is not about Gaza. It's not about settlements. It's a war by the Islamists who have a clear plan. They first want to destroy the Saturday people, which are the Jews.
Okay.
Then they want to kill the Sunday people, which she says are the Christians in Europe and America. And she says people in Europe and America need to understand this stuff. It's that the Judeo-Christian world is being attacked in stages. They want a Palestinian state, according to her, in order to destroy the entirety of Israel. But they also want this in order to continue to go against the Europeans and the Americans and turn them under a Muslim caliphate. So she says anyone who thinks they want a Palestinian state needs to rethink this. And she just doesn't like their from the river to the sea chant.
Is this a common ideology among the Palestinians and Muslims?
Well, many Muslims basically want Islam to dominate the world. That's what they're taught. And so they want more land than that is currently dominated by Israel. As far as Hamas goes and all this stuff, I want to read something from one of Hamas's official early founding documents. Israel will exist and will continue to exist until Islam will obliterate it, just as it obliterated others before it. The Islamic resistance movement is one of the wings of the Muslim Brotherhood in Palestine. Muslim Brotherhood movement is a universal organization which constitutes the largest Islamic movement in modern times. It's characterized by its deep understanding, accurate comprehension, and a complete embrace of all Islamic concepts, of all aspects of life, culture, creed, politics, economics, education, society, justice, and judgment, the spreading of Islam, education, art, information, science of the occult, and conversion to Islam. So again, you see here that Hamas clearly wants Israel to be destroyed, and it claims to be part of the Muslim Brotherhood.
Tell us a little bit more about this Muslim Brotherhood.
Well, both the Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas, their logos or emblems have crossed swords on them, which suggests military solutions of what they're looking at, or war. Now, what does the Muslim Brotherhood want? Well, I went to their website a few years ago, and here's what they've more or less said about themselves. The Muslim Brethren believe that the caliphate, which is an Islamic rule of Islamic union, is needed for the bonds of the nations of Islam. They see the caliphate and its reestablishment as a top priority. Subsequently, they want an association of Muslim people which should be set up who would elect an imam or caliph or a leader. And furthermore, to answer the question, what is the Muslim Brotherhood? They've said it's the world's largest and most influential Islamic movement. It's founded in Egypt in 1928. The Islamic nation, its charter states, must be fully prepared to fight the tyrants and enemies of Allah as a prelude to establishing an Islamic state. ideally a reestablished caliphate stretching from Spain across the Middle East and Central America, Central Asia to Indonesia, and to be governed according to Islamic Sharia law. So basically what the Muslim Brotherhood wants is the top priority is this multinational confederation under a caliphate ruled by an imam. Now, it's not going to end up with Spain if I understand certain aspects of Bible prophecy right. But the Bible does talk about a confederation of the final prophesied king of the south. And basically, it seems like it would start from Western Sahara and all the way over to Oman, and maybe include Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Indonesia.
Is this ruling imam someone we should be looking for on the national scene?
Yes, he's somebody who's going to rise up.
What should we be looking for in this imam?
He's going to be a leader who rises from the Middle East or North Africa. And he's going to get various nations in that region to support him. Many in Islam look for a leader to do that. There's a coming caliph who's also called the Imam Mahdi in Islamic prophecy. Now, while that exact term is not in the Quran, he's mentioned in what they call hadiths. Hadiths are statements that companions of Muhammad said, and it's considered to be real close to the Quran, almost the same level by almost all Muslims. Now, as far as Hamas and Imam Mahdi, last month, Abdul Obadia, who's a spokesman for part of Hamas military, delivered a message that says it marked a significant departure from traditional Sunni ideology in favor of Ayatollah Khomeini's Shiite doctrine. So let me interject here. There's three types of Muslims: the Sufis, which are the smallest group, the Sunnis, which are the biggest group, and the Shiites, which are like the Iranians. And they have different views of the Imam Mahdi. What they're saying is, even though Hamas was a Sunni group, it's adopting the same types of things that the Iranian Shiites say about the Imam Mahdi. And he's supposedly a messianic figure, supposed to bring justice and harmony to the world. And basically, they say that he's going to emerge, efficiently organize the army, fight against his enemies, which are represented by Israel and the Western nations, which are described as Satan. Now, there's a lot of these hadiths that look for this caliph to come. And this is the same person, again, the Muslim Brotherhood wants, and other Islamic groups want. So I'll read over some of these. The prophet, they mean Muhammad, said, the Mahdi will be of my family, of the descendants of Fatima. They have a broad forehead and a prominent nose. He will fill the earth with equity and justice, and he will rule for 7 years. They will use black banners from the east, and a man will come to him and say, "Oh Mahdi, give to me," and he'll fill his garment with whatever he's able to carry. Basically, it says that he's going to make the poor Muslims basically wealthy.
Okay.
He says, from your caliphs, Muhammad said, there will be one in the last days who will distribute wealth without counting it. He won't rise up until the Dajjal, which is kind of their version of the beast or the Antichrist, will rise up. Says that this Mahdi is going to make a deal with the Roman Empire, and they'll betray them. But he's going to be the leader of all the Muslim Ummah, which means the Muslim world. And he's supposed to come up after a time of turmoil. Now that's consistent with what Jesus said, because Jesus talked about a time called the beginning of sorrows in Matthew 24, verse 8. Anyway, based on biblical prophecies about the coming king of the south, which sounds like this Imam Mahdi, I don't think he's going to reign 7 years for over everything, but it's possible maybe he has some government position now. You add that plus some other things. But The term Mahdi means the guided one. And again, they think he's the leader who's going to unite Muslims. And one of the things Hamas and Iran think they need to do is cause enough chaos to make this guy rise up. And this is something that the Muslim Brotherhood also says will arise, and they think he will help resolve poverty better than they've been able to do.
Well, how will all these Muslims from different countries be drawn together?
Well, right now, many of them are incensed with what's going on in Gaza. The United Nations 10 days ago said they're thinking this could result in the loss of peace in the region. Now, the old Worldwide Church of God said that Muslims in general, the Arabs in particular, have historically responded like no one else to a charismatic personality, and the various ones have risen up within Islam, claiming to be the awaited Mahdi. And they said, yeah, because the Bible talks about that there's going to be a coming European king of the north. It also talks about a king of the south. And they said the king of the south will be this Arab Muslim confederation. And it could very well be led by one called the Imam Mahdi. And I agree. You know, the Bible says the king of the north is going to rise after various crises. The Bible says the king of the south will rise after these crises. Again, these, I believe, relate to the beginning of sorrows Jesus talked about, as well as the rise of the four horsemen of the apocalypse that we read about in Revelation 6, 1-8.
So how does the king of the north relate to the king of the south?
Well, they both rise up about the same time. The Bible says they're going to make lying deals with each other, but eventually they're going to turn on each other. In Daniel chapter 11, verse 40, it says, at the time of the end, a king of the south pushes himself forward with him, and the king of the north storms against him with many ships. And it talks about various lands being involved in the king of the south: Edom, Moab, the chief of the sons of Ammon, Egypt, Luban, and Cushim. And these are basically peoples in the Middle East and North Africa. And the lands of the king of the south are specifically lands that the Muslim Brotherhood says they want to have ruled by a Muslim leader.
Okay.
And while that leader will not succeed in destroying all Sunday keepers, there's a prophecy in Psalm 83 that points to the use of terrorism that would kill some in the United States as well as its British descended allies like the UK and Canada. So yes, you've got people like the pro-Israeli activist Nadia Matar, like she pointed out, that what's going on in Hamas and Islam is actually bigger than the current war in Gaza.
Well, just what does that mean? It's bigger than just the current war in Gaza.
Ultimately, this is going to lead to bringing many Islamic nations together. They don't want an expanded nation of Israel. They want an expansion of Islam. Mm-hmm. Muslims are looking forward to their prophecies being fulfilled. And according to the Bible, parts of Islamic prophecies will be, but it will not turn out as well to Muslims as many hope. In Daniel 11, verse 40-43, it shows the king of the south sounds a lot like the Imam Mahdi will be defeated. But remember, Jesus said in Mark 13, verse 37, what I say to you all, watch. And the stage is being set for more biblical prophecies to be fulfilled. And what's going on in Hamas and with the Muslim Brotherhood is consistent with that.
Watch indeed. Thank you, Dr. Thiel. For more interviews with Dr. Thiel, in addition to written as well as audio articles, visit our website at BibleNewsProphecy.net. This is Steve Dupuie for the Bible News Prophecy Program.